Chapter 11. Trapped. It was Isaac. His arms pinned her from the back, and his knife pressed against her throat. "I have a right to be here," Rebecca stammered. "'Tis my parents' farm. Let me go." "You would run to the fort. You would tell the soldiers I am here," Isaac said. His voice was cold with anger. For a moment Rebecca was silent. She knew it was her duty to tell the soldiers about Isaac. But she couldn't admit to that, not with a knife at her throat. "I shan't tell anyone," Rebecca promised. "I haven't yet told that you've gone from the fort at night." "You knew?" She tried to nod, but Isaac held her too tightly. "Who else knows?" he demanded. "Only Celinda, and she wouldn't tell. She liked you. I guess she was wrong." Isaac released his grip on her. "Why did you not tell the soldiers?" he asked. Rebecca stepped away, then turned and faced him. "At first I wasn't sure," she said, "and then—" She paused. "What?" "Then I was afraid they'd hang you. As bad as you are, I didn't think you deserved to die." Isaac stared at her hard for a few moments, as if he were deciding something. Then he tucked the knife back into his belt. Rebecca noticed its distinctive white handle. There were 2 letters carved on it. E.C. "Go back to the fort," Isaac ordered her. "Say nothing to anyone. Soon I will be gone." "You're running away?" "I'm going home," he said simply. "My father is dead. My family needs me." He crouched on the ground and began to retie his bundle. "I would have left before, but guards were watching. The rain tonight is good." Rebecca pointed to the items on the ground. "You stole those things, didn't you?" she demanded. "And you took Ezekiel's knife?" A slight smile crossed Isaac's face. "I did not take the knife," he said. "He hid it in my bed. He wanted to trap me. I put it in the woodpile before he brought the soldier." "I looked through the woodpile," Rebecca said. "There was nothing there." "After the soldier searched, I found this place. It was hidden, and animals could not get the food." "But you're stealing," Rebecca protested. Isaac cinched the bundle tightly. "If a white man ran from Indians, would he not take things he needed?" Rebecca was confused. "That would be different." "Why?" Isaac demanded. "Well," Rebecca began. She couldn't quite explain why, but it had to be different. "It simply is," she said. "English think nothing of tricking Indians or stealing from us," Isaac said. He stood up. "When my tribe adopts captives, we treat them as brothers, not the way you treated me, like a savage animal." He looked directly at Rebecca, but she said nothing. "Some captives stay and become our true brothers," Isaac continued. "Others try to get free. One white boy pretended to be sick. His Indian mother believed him and took him to a white doctor. The doctor helped the boy run away. His mother did not eat for days. To her, the boy was not a captive. He was a son." "But you're not a captive here," Rebecca argued. "You're white. You're one of us." "I'll never be one of you. And I am captive here. Why else do your soldiers keep me inside? Why do you spy on me?" Rebecca drew herself up to her full height. "I wasn't spying on you. I had to find out where you'd hidden our silver spoons." "Silver spoons?" Isaac echoed. "You followed me here for spoons?" Anger brought a flush to Rebecca's cheeks. "I need them to buy Celinda's freedom back from the Cutters." "You think I have these spoons?" "I know you do," Rebecca said with more courage than she knew she had. She put out her hand. "Give them back to me," she demanded. A smile flickered across Isaac's face. "You are not a coward, but you are wrong. I know nothing of your spoons." "Don't lie. You must have them." He shouldered his bundle. His face was serious again. "I have only what I need for my journey. I have no spoons." Rebecca began to believe him, but she could not give up hope so easily. "Those spoons are important to Celinda and me. Do you swear you didn't take them? Swear on—" She tried to think of something Isaac might value. "Swear on whatever's most holy to you." "I swear," he said, looking her straight in the eye. "I swear on my family." Rebecca stared into his face for a long moment. "Aye," she said at last. "I believe you." She turned around, her shoulders slumped with disappointment. Suddenly Isaac grabbed her arm. "Shh! Someone comes!" With one swift, strong movement, he pushed Rebecca toward the open trapdoor. She almost fell, but she caught the ladder just in time and half stumbled, half dropped into the dark cellar. Isaac snatched up his bundle and jumped into the cellar beside her. He landed almost soundlessly on the dirt floor. He placed his finger to his lips and motioned to Rebecca to be silent. Then he stepped onto the first rung of the ladder, reached up, and quietly pulled the heavy trapdoor closed over his head. Rebecca felt a wave of panic as the last bit of light was shut out from the cellar. "No," she protested, and she tried to push Isaac aside. "No, don't!" Isaac pressed his hand across her mouth and pinned down her arms. She struggled to get free, panic rising inside her like an animal clawing to get out. Then she heard him whisper, "If you be quiet, I let you go." She nodded, and Isaac dropped his hand and freed her arms. Rebecca took a great gulp of air. It was moist and cold. Isaac leaned toward her. "Listen," he whispered, close to her ear. Rebecca listened hard, and she could hear voices above. Was it Indians, she wondered, or soldiers from the fort? At first the voices were too far away for her to understand. Then they drew closer. They were Indians. She felt sick to her stomach. It can't be happening again, she thought. But it was. Indians were here, and once more she had to hide in the cellar. She could hear 2, perhaps 3 men above her. They seemed to be arguing. Isaac listened so intently he did not even seem to be breathing. What will he do, Rebecca worried. Will he turn me over to them? She felt a sudden pang as she thought of her sister. What will happen to Celinda if I never come back? Huddled in the dark, damp cellar, Rebecca crouched down in agony of worry. Several more sets of footsteps passed close by. Then there was silence. Still Isaac did not move. Rebecca forced herself to remain quiet, too. She counted to 100, slowly. Then she could stand it no more. "They've left," she whispered. "Let me out." "Shh!" he answered abruptly. "A guard will come behind." Rebecca bit her lip. Was this another of Isaac's tricks? But he was between her and the door. She had no choice but to wait. She began reciting scripture in her head. She was in the midst of the 23rd Psalm when once again she heard someone passing by on the ground above. "Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil," Rebecca prayed. After the last footsteps faded away, Isaac waited still longer. Finally he reached up and opened the cellar door a few inches. He looked out cautiously. Then he opened the door all the way and climbed out. Rebecca hurried after him. "Who are they?" she asked in a low tone. "What are they doing?" Isaac explained that the group was a raiding party from the north. They were not the same men who had attacked the Johnsons' farm, but were another scouting party from that tribe. Why were they arguing? Some wanted to raid a farm close to here, he said. The leader said no, there was much danger from the enemy in the fort. Rebecca was confused. Enemy? What enemy? Isaac gave her an odd look. Your soldiers, of course. The leader said they should return home. They go north now. But our soldiers aren't the enemy, Rebecca protested. They protect us. Isaac shook his head as if she were a particularly stupid child. He pulled his bundle out of the cellar, then shut the door. Rebecca hesitated. She did not want to ask this question, but she had to know. Were you part of that raid on the Johnsons' farm? Did you help capture that poor family? No, I knew nothing of it, Isaac said. Rebecca felt relieved, but his next words gave her a chill. If I'd known, I would have escaped the fort. I would have traveled with them. Those savages kill people and take innocent families captive. How could you want to join them? Rebecca exclaimed in horror. What about your soldiers? Isaac shot back. In the village that they burned, they killed grandmothers, babies. All were dead. If you like the Indians so much, why didn't you join that raiding party that just passed? Rebecca replied angrily. Why did you hide? Isaac looked at her stonily. If I had come out, what would have become of you? He asked. For a moment, Rebecca was stunned. Isaac had chosen to protect her, even though it meant giving up his chance to travel with other Indians. She stared at him as he picked up his small bundle, but his face was as blank as ever. I go to my family now, he said. Goodbye, Rebecca started to say, but Isaac had already disappeared. Once again, she was left alone in the wilderness. In a daze, Rebecca turned and headed back to the fort. With Indians so close by, she was afraid to walk through the gloomy forest again. Instead, she decided to go down to the river and follow it south, then climb back to the fort on the same route she and Celinda had taken when they had washed the quilts. As she picked her way along the path, Rebecca thought about what she would do when she reached the fort. She knew it was her duty to go straight to the sentry. She should tell him that Isaac had escaped, and which route he had taken. But in her heart she knew she could not do it. He saved me, she thought. I cannot betray him. The rain was falling harder now, and the dusk was fading into the black of night. The sky was so cloudy that no stars were visible. There was only an occasional hint of moonlight. Rebecca stubbed her toe on a rock that she couldn't see on the path. Once she heard a rustle in the grass to her right. She dodged behind a tree and froze there. Then she saw a hawk fly up from the bushes with a small struggling creature, probably a mouse, caught in its talons. If I don't find the silver spoons, the Cutters are going to take Celinda away, just like that hawk took the mouse, she thought, and there won't be anything I can do about it. She tried to think clearly. If Isaac hadn't stolen the spoons, who had? Could it have been Ezekiel? She knew now that Ezekiel had planted the knife in Isaac's bed just to cause trouble for the white Indian boy. Had Ezekiel hidden the knife, then gone up to the loft and looked for things to steal? It was possible, perhaps, but Rebecca did not think it was likely. Ezekiel did not seem smart enough to both steal the spoons and plant a trap for Isaac. But if Ezekiel is not the thief, she wondered, who could it be? Her mind was a jumble of questions as she found her way to the river, then continued her journey along its bank. There were fewer trees to act as shelters here, and the rain streamed onto her hair and face. She untied her Sunday apron and draped it over her head to act as a scarf. The river was easy to follow, and she walked quickly till she reached the trail that led to the south gate. She followed this trail through the woods until it emerged into the open meadow. She was almost across the meadow when she heard the soft whinny of a horse. A man on horseback came riding slowly out of the fog. Rebecca stood stock still. The meadow was wide open. There was no place to run to. The rider had not yet seen her. He was murmuring to his horse, "Come on, Bethalua. Slow and quiet now. We'll be out of here before anyone knows we're gone." Rebecca recognized the voice and hurried toward it. "Johnny," she called out and grabbed the horse's bridle. "Where are you going?" The horse was frightened by her outburst and reared up slightly, but Rebecca held tight to its bridle. Old Johnny clutched his heart. "My word, girl, you nearly scared me to death," he exclaimed. "What with that white thing over your head, I thought you was a ghost." Rebecca pulled the apron off her head. "Where are you going?" she asked the peddler. "You said you'd meet me at first light." "I changed my mind," Johnny said. "I don't never stay no place long." He made a move as if to leave, but Rebecca continued to hold tight. Questions were forming in her mind. "Johnny," she said, "you never came back to buy my silver spoons. Why?" "Another time, child, another time," Johnny said. Again he made a move to leave, but Rebecca held on even tighter. "You stole my spoons, didn't you, Johnny?" she accused him. "You tried to make me think that Isaac took them, but it was you. That's why you didn't come back to buy the spoons. You already had 'em. And that's why you didn't stay to meet me in the morning." "You're talking nonsense, child. Let go of the bridle." He raised his hand as if to strike her. Rebecca grasped the bridle even tighter. "No, I won't let go. Give me back my spoons or I'll scream so loud that the soldiers on patrol will hear me. I swear I will." Johnny hesitated. His hand fell. "I don't have 'em no more," he said at last. "I traded 'em for rum." "My spoons?" Rebecca was outraged. "You traded them, then you drank the money?" "A man gets a powerful thirst traveling out here, and you had no right to put temptation in my way," Johnny said, his voice becoming almost a whine. "You as much as told me you had them spoons in the loft. Then you went outside to see about that white Indian boy. I decided to look at the spoons myself. I was going to give you the money for 'em some day." "I want the money now," Rebecca demanded. "I need 24 shillings. You said they'd be worth even more than that." Very well, the peddler grumbled. He opened his pack and reached deep inside. He pulled out a small linen pouch. Rebecca squinted at it. Even in the darkness she recognized the pouch that the spoons had been kept in. She held her breath as Johnny reached deeper into the pack and filled up the pouch, counting slowly. 1 shilling, 2, 3. After he reached 24, he tossed the pouch toward Rebecca. She released the bridle and tried to catch the money. She missed the pouch, and it fell on the grass. "There, be gone with you," Johnny said. He dug his heels into his horse's side, and Bethulah took off, galloping down the path and away from the fort. Rebecca picked up the pouch and hefted it. It had a heavy, solid feel to it, but something seemed strange. It was too dark for Rebecca to see the coins, but she touched them with her fingers. Then, for the second time that night, she felt sick to her stomach. She realized it wasn't coins that Johnny had counted into the pouch so carefully. It was worthless old buttons. She opened her mouth to scream for help. Then she stopped. By the time the soldiers arrived and asked her questions, Johnny would be long gone, and she would have to do a great deal of explaining herself, especially when it was discovered that Isaac had run away. "I was a fool to have trusted old Johnny, even for a moment," she thought to herself bitterly. "Now he's gone and the spoons are gone. Soon Zelinda will be gone too." Rebecca had thought she was too big for crying, but somehow tears began to roll down her cheeks. They blurred her vision, and as she walked across the meadow, she stumbled into a bush. Her skirt caught in its thorns. She tugged on it, and as she did, berries squished in her hand. She realized this was where she and Zelinda had stopped several days before. Rebecca remembered how she had gathered blackberries at this bush, but Zelinda had not wanted any because berries made her sick. Rebecca had a sudden idea. She quickly filled her pockets with berries. Then she hurried toward the fort. When she was close to the palisade, she hid in the shadows until she reached the gap at the corner where she had escaped earlier. She waited until she was sure no guards were about. Then she squeezed back through the palisade and into the fort.